Hey everyone, Elite here, and we are continuing this series. Today's color of choice is actually a really good one that I only have very little left of, and I might have to pick up a tube at some point. So, without further ado, today's color of choice is Hematite Violet by Daniel Smith, which is not so violet, but I actually thought at some point maybe I replaced the original paint with something else. I just have the half pan for ages now, but maybe it's time to splurge on a tube. So you can see this is a very, very muted violet. It has a really interesting granulation, and you can see when you mix it with white, you get this really beautiful kind of violet, gray, taupe-ish kind of color, which I really like. I think I really considered buying a tube of this, but eventually I ended up getting the Hematite Burnt Scarlet Genuine, which is kind of a similar color. It's a little bit warmer, but both of them have this lovely gray granulation. So this is really my kind of neutral, and I really like the opaque colors and shades that I get with it, that I get when I mix it with something like white or buff titanium or even Naples yellow. So again, I'm doing some negative painting. I'm kind of in the zone now with this type of, I don't know, subject, composition, whatever you want to call it. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm kind of exploring different brush strokes, different brushes, and always different colors. So in this case, what did I go with? What was that? I think, yeah, it's Ultramarine Pink by M. Graham, which is a really lovely color. However, I'm not sure I'm going to keep it in the palette. I don't know. I really like it, but I haven't used it much in the last couple of months, I would say. I used it a lot more in the spring. I'm not sure. Someone said that I was actually using the pans more than I was using the wells, and that may be correct. Definitely correct for some of the colors. But yeah, I don't have more to say about that. So that's not the goal. In theory, the problem is I'm so fickle and I fall in and out of love with colors all the time. So in theory, my goal would be to have in the wells my most used colors, because besides the fact that they contain more paint, it's also really more convenient to just dip a brush. They have that slant to them, and it's just nicer, I think, than a half pan. If I could paint just from these wells and full pans, I would, but I also want a lot of colors, so it's always that compromise of, you know, having more colors but then having smaller containers like half pans. So it is what it is. Anyway, as you saw in the previous video, I'm just exploring starting with a limited color palette and then gradually adding more and more colors. And I think the more you paint, and if you kind of entertain that whole idea of painting in a series, then you develop at some point, at least that's how I found it works for me. I develop just a process, an order of things, and usually there are some safety nets and things that I do if I don't know what to do. Some artists will tell you to walk away if you don't know what you want to do in a painting, and while I do think that's a good advice, and probably I have made some, I don't know, mistakes, or I could have made better decisions if I walked away. I have so little time to paint, then when I do, I don't want to walk away and I don't want to start over. I just want to push through. So I kind of develop strategies to deal with that. And one of them is, if I'm not sure what to do, I grab my sword brush that you see now resting on my little panda at the top of the screen and just add some brush strokes, some line work with it. In this case, most of the paint was still wet, so I won't get a very sharp line, but that's, still okay. It just lets me do something as I'm thinking about other things. Then I decided I wanted to add some turquoise, so I'm dipping to another color that is very, very neglected in my palette, which is Helio Turquoise by Schminke. It's a beautiful turquoise, very intense, very staining. It's kind of like a phthalo color, I would say. But, it does give you that punch, and I just thought I would include it. And then I immediately get a color craving for yellow whenever I put down any kind of turquoise or teal, so I added some splatters. Now, this is something new in my stash. It all started from a mistake. I ordered by mistake a Neocolor I pastel instead of the Neocolor II. The Neocolor II are water-soluble wax pastels, and the Neocolor I are not. So they are kind of water resistant. And I have had the Neocolor II for a really long time. They're a great product, really lovely. They have such a nice range of colors. And I never thought I would actually use the Neocolor I. But yeah, I made a mistake and I ordered one, and I actually really liked it as a resist because I really like the idea of oil pastels with watercolors because they resist them so well. But I have soft oil pastels and they're so messy. They're not a sketchbook friendly product. You can use them, but you'll need to spray it with some sort of fixative, and I'm not even sure that would completely keep them in place. So they are just a product that I love the idea of and I love how they perform, but it just doesn't work for my setup and my preferences. So I decided to try the Neocolor II. Now, you saw that I have the set. Honestly, I wouldn't buy a set. I would buy a few colors in open stock. However, I'm also impatient, one of my many faults, and I was in town, and the art store in the town nearby is quite small, and all they had were, I think, like 2 of these sets. So I got a set, and actually the colors are lovely. But yeah, as I said, I wouldn't buy a set unless you like really every single color in it. I was just impatient and I wanted something to play with. And they're lovely, and they are, in my opinion, from what I've seen till now, they are sketchbook friendly because they are waxy and they don't have that, oily residue. They're not so soft like soft oil pastels, but they still act as a really good resist. And the white one is especially really fun. You'll see that in tomorrow. I don't know if it's tomorrow or just the next sketching video. So I'm really enjoying them. And yeah, you could get a similar effect with like an oil or wax pencil. I'll probably try to just kind of play with both on the same page so I can get an idea. But these work pretty well. And what I was trying to do, you see all those little shapes. This is what I love about playing in a sketchbook. If this was like a proper painting, I'm doing some air quotes here. If this was a proper painting, I wouldn't try half of my pencils in the corner there on the right side like I did. But because this is a sketchbook, a place for experimenting, a place for just fun, color playtime, I tried a bunch of pencils. Now, this paper, while I've praised it one too many times, it's not the most ideal for like sketching with pencils into wet paint. There's something about it that it gets like a little bit too fragile and kind of soft, and the pencil just doesn't deposit as well on it like it does on cotton paper, like 100% cotton or cellulose paper. So I don't feel like I can use my pencils as much to sketch into wet paint with this paper. However, with the Museum Aquarelle Caran D'Ache pencils, when the paper is wet and kind of like fragile, like wet fabric or something, you can see they almost, I don't know, the pigment in the pencils gets activated because it's a water-soluble pencil. So when I draw with it in wet paint, it gets activated, but it also creates this indentation, almost like embossing in the paper. And I tried my different pencils, and the best effect, that's closest to what I was happy with, I got from the Museum Aquarelle Pencils. So I don't know if I explained that very well, but I thought they were really fun, and yeah, just the colors stayed kind of bright. You can see it in the close-ups. I don't know if I'm explaining this very well because I'm not even sure what I'm trying to explain. But here are the close-ups. You can see that minty pencil, how it really, really shines. And I thought that the non-soluble pencils would be a better resist, but apparently in this case with this paper, while the paper was still wet, the aquarelle pencils were actually, they performed the best. So here's some close-ups. Isn't this fun? And that hematite violet color is beautiful. I really, really love it. And especially with just a little bit of white. I think that's interesting. And hello, lunar black and gorgeous granulation. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you're still enjoying the series, and I'll see you in another video very, very soon. Have a wonderful day. Bye.